start the olive harvest today. I got back from a friend's wedding in England around 2 a.m. this morning, so I'm not really relishing the idea of how much hard work we'll have to go on today, but it has to be done because they've already gone slightly over, having had a really warm summer. It's my first year doing this, so I have no idea what to expect, but I'm really excited to learn how it all works. Right, I'm heading out now to put the nets down to collect the olives. I've had a coffee, but still not really quite awake. We are on a bit of a time constraint because it's due to rain today, so we need to get as much done before the rain sets in. What do you think about the olive harvest, Boo?
Not interested. These are the crates we'll be using to collect the olives, and this rakey looking device will shake the trees so the olives fall onto the nets for us. It attaches to this machine called an abbacchiatore, which uses compressed air to blow the fruit from the trees. As you can see, my trees have done really well this year and they are bursting with fruit to pick. It might take quite a while because I do have nearly 100 plants to get through. First job is to lay out all the nets and make sure there are no gaps in between them because we could lose quite a bit of harvest that way. It took me around 40 minutes to complete my first tree, but I did speed up gradually over time. The tool itself is really quite heavy, so having it above your shoulders the whole time really does build up your muscles and requires quite a bit of stamina. It's definitely effective at quickly removing the olives, but you do end up with a lot of leaves as well, which have to be removed before you take them to the presser. Once we'd removed the bigger bits of debris, we then carried the nets to some small crates which weighed about 20 kilos each, and then had to carry these all the way through the olive grove to the front garden. Bearing in mind they weigh 20 kilos each and I was carrying 2, that's pretty much my entire body weight. Needless to say, it was pretty exhausting, but we managed to get them into these giant crates ready for collection by a crane. The olive pressing plant is only a couple of minutes from home, and they were kind enough to let me go in and see the whole process from start to finish. This is one of my crates of olives going through the cleaning machine and removing all of the leaves that were left in. The cleaned olives then pass through this giant tube and onto a machine which crushes them into a pulp and mills them into a thick paste. In this machine you can see the olive oil being separated from the water, and when it comes out the other end it forms this distinctive apple shape. I asked the owner if they harvest anything else to keep the factory going throughout the year, but he told me that it's a family run business and they all have their regular full-time jobs. I couldn't face another day of carrying those crates, so I caved in and bought myself a wheelbarrow, but not without needing a quick pump up at the local petrol station. Even though the abbacchiatore is amazing, it does leave quite a few olives on the branches, so you have to go around by hand and manually pick them. This was actually my favourite part of the whole process, and next year I would love to be able to do them all by hand. I know people think I'm mad, but the sound of the abbacchiatore does drive you mad and means that you can't really laugh and joke or listen to music. So if I'm able to and I can get a good group of friends together, I think that would be the nicest and most pleasant way to do it next time. Once each row of trees was done, we moved the nets into their next position, but sometimes we didn't empty them, and they weighed an absolute ton. Luckily, my mum was on hand to provide some hearty lunches to keep us going through these long days. And Booby wasn't one to be left out of all the fun either.
We're doing pretty well. I think there's 6 trees left to do, which we should be able to get done before it starts to get dark. And then there's a little row of trees. I can't remember if they're mine or they belong to the neighbour, so I need to find out. But hopefully we're nearly there.
I don't know too much about the varieties at the moment, but as you can see, we picked quite a number of different types of olive.
Right, time to start day 3 and hopefully the final day of olive picking. I actually thought we'd finished yesterday, and then there were 6 trees I thought belonged to a neighbour who then told me that they're actually mine. So there's a few more to pick, and then we've just got to collect up all of these nets, clear the leaves out of the olives and then take them to the processor. I'm on my own today because my mum's busy, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult and time consuming. Even just moving the nets is really hard because they're so full, and it rained overnight as well, so they're really heavy, but I'm doing my best, powering on through.
Are you helping? Or are you just sat in the olives? Thank you.
Still going. Gonna have to pick the last few trees by hand, I think. Hopefully we'll still get them done today. I've kind of lost the will to live now, if I'm honest.
Just look at that colour, and it tasted absolutely divine.
So that brings my first olive harvest to a close. In the end, we picked over a ton of olives, which translated into roughly 110 litres of extra virgin olive oil. It was incredibly hard work, but so satisfying to be able to work in the fields in the morning and to be able to taste the results of the labour later that same day. Here are some things I learnt from my first time. 1. Don't listen to anybody else's idea of the perfect temperature. So everyone told me to wait for colder weather, and I absolutely froze. Even with thermals and several layers of clothes, I was utterly miserable, and I'm just someone who loves the heat, so next year that's when I'll do it. 2. Be prepared for creepy crawlies. Scorpions, earwigs, spiders of every single colour and variety. You bet you'll find them when you're harvesting. 3. Most people will underestimate just how much work it takes. I had so many people complaining I was slow to reply to texts, but this is full on. 4. The wind is your enemy. The other weather conditions weren't that great, but when the wind came along, it made it nearly impossible to do anything. The wind blew all the nets apart, so we lost an awful lot of olives in between, and not to mention it was just impossible to grab the branches when they were blowing all over the place. So now all that's left is to come up with a label and a name for my olive oil. So if you have any suggestions, please pop them in the box below. And if you're watching this video and thinking it's something you'd like to have a go at, then please do let me know. I would love you to come out next year and help me with the harvest. And now I'm off for a very well-earned rest. See you next time.